Welcome in, Minnesota Viking fans. It's the Purple People Podcast, your favorite Vikings podcast. Thank you for joining us.
You're assuming a lot there.
Right? You need to speak it into existence. It's true, right?
Yeah, that's definitely how that works.
That's
Say
exactly
his name
how
and he appears.
that's exactly how the internet works, because everything that you read online and hear on this outlet is 100% accurate. Welcome to the only 100% factual Vikings podcast.
Oh boy! Don't hold us to that.
Context, people, context. This is what we call sarcasm. All right. If you hate anything that I just said, my name's Kyle West. You can send everything to the Purple People Pod Twitter. I think you run. Yeah, that's it. Like that.
Run is run is a loose definition here.
Oh, it's funny. I swear I had the door closed and I just feel the wind on it and I have a nose in my elbow. Thank you for joining. What would you like to talk about today? All right, good talk. Welcome in, everybody. This is episode 565 because I didn't put it down below. And I didn't realize it's kind of the same that we did a while back, but we're counting down a training camp because July of 2024 is here. And we're just counting down the days. At the end of the month, everyone reports. It feels like, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I guess it's because we haven't had a lot of news with the team to really talk about in the last couple of weeks. It feels like this is one of the longer summers gearing up towards the season. Like, usually it felt like a 2 to 3 week break and we were back to it, but we haven't had anything to talk about legitimately for like a month since Jefferson got paid. So
I'll be honest, this morning I was kind of like sitting around, I was saying, is it summer yet? Is it? Because it doesn't feel like it here.
It's definitely summer here. God, I keep getting in my truck in the middle of the day. Like I leave around right after lunchtime because I go in pretty early and it's like 104. And I'm just, okay, well, I guess it's here.
Well, we got Charlotte going off in the chat over here. We don't do that kind of stuff around here.
What's up, Jonathan? Yeah, earlier she says, John's another year closer to 50 today. Wow, all these people that I know and enjoy, they have birthdays around the same week. My dad started last week, like 4 of my friends, Friday and Saturday, 1 on Sunday, a couple yesterday, Jonathan today, and then I've got one of my really good friends. She's turning 36 on Friday. So, yeah, all these summer babies. Good job. Happy birthday. We're glad you're here.
Yeah, I was talking to a couple people and they were like, with the holiday coming up, and I'm like, holiday? What holiday is coming up? And like, it took me like an hour to realize, oh, it's the 4th of July. Yeah, I guess that's a holiday.
Very significant in our country's history. AKA everyone doesn't get to sleep that night because people have to light shit on fire.
Commemorating when Macho Man dropped an elbow on Hulk Hogan.
Nice. I love July 4th.
The meme is about Hulk Hogan defeating communism with a leg drop, but I'm not going to make Hulk Hogan sound good. I'm not that guy. I don't want to be like, Hulk Hogan, yay. No, boo Hulk.
Yeah, the holiday, man. I don't, obviously, being a veteran, I have special ties to July 4th, but for me, I can't believe how much the time has flown. These guys, they're my friends. We talk every day through Facebook, and you guys have been on quite a journey with me through when I was younger and then through the military and now after. I got out of the military on active duty on July 4th, 5 years ago this Thursday. I can't believe it.
Dang.
I can't believe it. The time has flown. So,
yeah, see, for me, 4th of July was a drinking holiday, and since I don't drink anymore, I don't really think about it as much anymore. People do like to have an ice cold beer on the 4th of July, though.
I just find it in my particular situation, Adam, I'm sure you can kind of empathize with this. I'm alone most of the time. Like, drinking alone is just never a good idea. I'm not a doctor, but I hear that's what they say. And then when I am here and I'm not alone, usually my child's with me. So I just, by that way, in the last couple of years, I've just had to become sober because I refuse to drink alone. So I feel you on that. I would like to hang out with my friends and do that, but man, I get too comfortable chilling inside the house. Like going to places usually means I'm spending money, and
Well, I want to
sometimes.
loop back to Jonathan's comment here. That's a good story to talk about. But real quick, Jake talking about way back when, one of our early streams, us talking about Christian Ponder and getting ready for a 2012 or 2013 season. That has been a long time ago. That's forever ago that Christian
I
Ponder
go
was on
back
this
and hear
team.
myself. He's got the tools. All he's got to do is put it together.
He did. At the
He
time,
didn't put it together.
we weren't wrong. I mean, you felt like he had the tools to succeed, and you're right, he never put them together. His arm was not an NFL caliber arm. They could have done more to help him out, I feel like, in terms of offense. Like, you could have hid, does Brock Purdy have the best arm in the NFL? Probably not. Do the 49ers find a way to maximize and win with him? Yes. The Vikings could have done a hell of a lot better job with Christian Ponder. Remember the Fail Mary, where they asked
Oh
Ponder
yeah.
to throw that Hail Mary at the end of the game, and it landed, what was it, about 5-6 yards short of the end zone, and they tried to cover for it, or they were like, no.
Oh, it was even shorter than that.
Was it shorter than that? But I
Oh yeah.
remember them trying to cover for it in the post game. When, what was it, Childress or Musgrave or someone was like, no, that was actually the play call. We wanted him to throw it short because defenses weren't expecting that. Like, well, there was no receivers in the area either, so your whole idea is bullshit. He just couldn't throw it to the back of the end zone.
Yeah, I remember these very, very vague because I have a similar fandom, and it starts with the year becoming a Vikings fan, like Pat McAfee had with the Colts. So he joined in '09 when they played the Saints in the Super Bowl. Shout out New Orleans, go fuck yourself. Still hate that team. I I joined when Brett Favre, like that was my big one. I was always a Brett Favre fan, but because of the military, I never attached to a team. And me being that stupid, naive, like, well, I'm not jumping on the bandwagon. That's got some notoriety to it. I picked this team that just irritates the life out of me. Sorry for both of you because you've done it a lot longer than me. But I remember being like, "Oh, cool! This is awesome. This is what it's like to support a team that's really good." And bringing the band back one more time the next year, you saw how much different it is when everybody's not dialed in, and a couple of things go wrong, and then you're back to being 8-8 or whatever we were, like 6-10 that season. And then the next year, you're like, okay, well maybe we'll bounce back, and we're even worse because they got Chucky Soup, Donovan McNabb, and Christian Ponder at quarterback. And meanwhile, now that we're talking about bringing up games, my God, we won 3 games that season, and one of them was because the Panthers missed a field goal. We should have lost that one too. So,
True.
I remember where I was when I was watching this game, and I just thought it literally can't get worse. Like this is what the Lions and Browns fans have felt forever. But I just remember thinking, I hope this kid works out, which he obviously didn't.
I
We wasted
definitely
Adrian Peterson for so long.
yeah.
It was so heartbreaking.
I definitely remember that game where Ponder replaced McNabb, and he had a decent game. And I remember being excited as a Vikings fan. I'm like, oh, the future of this team looks great. Like we got ourselves a quarterback, guys, and it's just so difficult to nail.
Well, at the time, all we knew was
position.
Minnesota could use a game manager and they'd be fine. They didn't
Yeah.
need Patrick Mahomes or someone like that out there at the time to do what he was doing. A game manager would have been fine. But I don't think
I'm
Ponder
with you.
even never reached that.
I'm with you, Kyle. I think at wide receiver, that was the biggest lack. And they did have Percy Harvin, but he's not a number one. Sidney Rice had taken off that point for Seattle.
They fucking misused Percy so bad. I know his attitude didn't help matters. It's on him. But dude, they didn't fucking know how to use Percy.
Yeah, 100% agree. They could have been better at the wide receiver position, and the line itself, outside of a great 1 year, 2 years from Matt Khalil, like I don't really remember any of the line that was like, oh my God, they're otherworldly. So you have a great running back who's getting wasted. You had the start of Kyle Rudolph, who was a pretty solid player for us forever. But man, no wide receivers to help you out there. And then God, now that I'm thinking about it, you wasted the end of Jared Allen's prime with that horrible 2013 season. That was like the only thing that was good about that year was like, well, maybe he'll beat the sack record, and the Bears made sure he did not do that. So, oh, fun times. This is how I wanted to start reliving the 3-13 season. And then it's just like, now that I'm looking at the trajectory of it, then we just go out and we just wander out into the vast sea of sadness because the next year was Matt Khalil year, like 2 years later. And then you get Teddy, which he had an okay rookie year. It wasn't great, but they went to the playoffs on the back of Adrian Peterson, right? And they were like, oh, cool. Now we're going to build. We got our guy. And then because, of course, his knee was obliterated in half by a non-contact injury. And I just sat back. I was like, I've been following this team for 7 years. I was like, I think they're cursed. I think God just hates
If
this
I'm
team.
being honest, though, that energy around Teddy was probably better than Teddy himself being there.
It
just
was.
having Teddy be that guy that you wanted to cheer for. You want him to do it. You already were behind this team 100%, and this guy comes in, and you're like, I want this to be the guy. And then that knee happened, and man, that was crushing.
And I know it's early. Do we feel that for JJ McCarthy yet? Or because we haven't really seen him suit up as a Viking? We haven't even seen him in preseason. I'll be curious to see, is the fan base going to rally behind McCarthy kind of the same way they did Teddy? Like, I
don't know.
hope
In the pictures
so.
I've seen of him, I don't know if JJ McCarthy's even graduated high school.
He looked
Doesn't
so
it make
fucking
you
young.
feel so old looking at these?
I do. I feel so old looking at the pictures of these young kids.
Oh, it's annoying.
Isn't it weird to think who was talking about turning 40 in the chat? Was that Charlotte who was talking about turning 40? I look back at what we said about Brett Favre, about how old Brett Favre was. Oh my God, he's 40-year-old quarterback playing for the Minnesota Vikings. I'm almost 40, Smith. You're almost 40. It's like crazy to think.
Shut your mouth, Wes.
I am
Shut
in
your
my
mouth.
mid-40s.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that like I'm almost as old as what Brett Favre was when he was playing quarterback for the Vikings in 2009.
And I feel so wrong writing a Vikings article and being like, he's on the wrong side of 30. What?
These are great. We're like going down the history of the last decade with the team. Sam Bradford, I will die on this hill. God, if I could go back in one player in my favorite team's history to keep 100% healthy for 5 to 6 years, it would be that dude. I have never seen someone throw a prettier spiral on a football and just he has like Aaron Rodgers accuracy. I couldn't imagine if he was still around, like he'd be too old now because I think he was drafted in 2010. But imagine if he was still around throwing to Justin Jefferson.
Oh man.
Good Lord. Oh man. Case Keenum year. Yeah, that flash in the pan was crazy. And then we get gifted a year like that where you're like, we should not be winning all of these games.
Okay. You want to guess how old Sam Bradford is?
He is, if I'm guessing, he got drafted at 20. He's 35.
36.
Nice.
Wild.
He's had quite a different life than I have. Holy shit.
So Kirk Cousins is 35. So Sam Bradford's only a year older than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
That's insane. I don't understand time. Time is a construct. It doesn't exist.
Bradford feels like longer ago than that.
Yeah.
I would have guessed at first glance, but actually doing the quick math, I would have guessed he's over 40 based on where he was and all that. What another wasted career. God, he had to go to the butthole of the NFL in St. Louis. That was terrible. That sucks. I'm sorry for him.
This blows my mind too. Tyrod Taylor, who seems like he's been in the league for 20 years now. Tyrod Taylor's been
probably
playing
29, 30,
34. How?
I like this. Hey, Jake, elaborate on this. So you said, for the first time in years, I'll be watching preseason with actual interest. So you want to watch McCarthy?
I'm assuming McCarthy.
I do too. I don't have any I won't say interest. I don't have any stock in the preseason, but like last year, I'm putting together furniture. I just moved, and I'm watching the Seattle game on my phone while I'm putting together the guest bed frame, and I see that Jordan Addison catch, and that's all I needed. I was like, oh, he's going to be really good. He's going to be really good.
Preseason is great because you get to see those rookies, and with Minnesota having 2 first-rounders, I mean, that's reason enough to really tune in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we don't have to keep putting people's names or ages in here. I feel bad for everyone. Maybe I'm the only one who gets upset about it. I remember going to my dad's surprise 40th birthday party, and I remember dogging him so bad. I'm like, God, you're so old. And it's 3.5 years away from me. Yeah, Bradford and his knees. Sigh. I know. Oof. McCarthy and our loaded tight end room. Yeah, this is something that we need to talk about because TJ Hawkinson, in my estimation, is not going to be ready week 1. So your tight
They've
end.
got Johnny Munt. We're fine.
Oh, the depth of tight end. I'm not scared of tight end at all.
Yeah, there's some really good tight ends. There's probably going to be one that's going to get cut from the main roster. We hope to sneak on the practice squad. Adding Robert Tonyan is great. Johnny Munt is awesome. Josh Oliver just came from when he came last season. He's not going anywhere. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Y'all are babies. That's funny. Yeah, here you go, Charlotte. I don't know what baby you've ever seen that has Santa Claus hair, but
I'm assuming Hawkinson probably start the season on the PUP list. That'll clear up a roster space.
That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah, they'll be
with
able
having that injury on like the second to last week or the last week of the season. I can't remember exactly when it was, but it was at the end of the season. What is PUP? PUP is 6 weeks. That's more than enough time to be safe.
Have you guys ever heard of NFL analyst Doug Farrar?
I have not.
Apparently, he is from Sports Illustrated, and he wrote an article, or he discussed some of the players that he saw for the rookies, and he really likes that rookie cornerback, Kyrie Jackson. He's a big fan of him. Put an article about him over on Sports Illustrated. And Minnesota may not have a very good cornerback room on paper because Pro Football Focus has the Vikings secondary rated at the 27th best in the NFL, which that's not a great place to be, but Minnesota has some young talent there that should be able to help it look better. And they've got some veterans to hold on the position while the young guys learn. So on paper, it's not a good secondary, but there's reasons to be excited.
I'm excited to see Shaq Griffin in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the corner room right now. Does anyone think Andrew Booth Jr. will make this team? Because I
got to see who else that would beat him out, but it's
literally anyone.
It's looking like slim pickings for him and Lewis Seen this year, which I think is nuts. I think they should try to hold on to Seen at least one more season to give him the attempt.
I don't.
The attempts of it, but I didn't expect 2 years after being a first round pick that he might be canned, but
if he cannot contribute at least on special teams, and I mean every single week contribute on special teams, you can't waste a roster spot on him anymore. I know former first round pick, whatever, let someone else try.
Right.
You just can't. I can't justify that roster spot. They're too precious.
And I know I've sat here and talked about how corners are not that great, but I also have on the show in previous weeks talked about undrafted free agent Dwight McLaughlin, who's been turning some heads for Vikings during the OTAs, and apparently he is looking real good. And now hearing that Kyrie Jackson's looking good too, I'm liking this because those are corners that both have size and ability, and you can't teach that.
Good reference.
My favorite thing about Kyrie Jackson is he's going to play against one of his college rivals in the NFC North for a while, Roma Dunze. Kyrie Jackson's from Oregon, Roma Dunze from Washington, and immediately Viking fans are like, "Oh shit, here we go!" Like blah blah blah. Let's see what happens. And he immediately responded. He was like, "Go back and check the tape. That man's got nothing on me when we're playing man coverage. Absolutely nothing." And I love it. If you got to talk your shit. But
maybe you really need those guys that are confident and vocal, and wide receiver and corner are the two. If you are a wide receiver or a corner in the NFL and you're one of those timid guys that doesn't want to make too much noise, I don't know if that's the right gig for you.
Jonathan asks, what is the word on our kickers? There's a competition this year, isn't there? Yes.
Kind
of. Drafting it? Yeah.
No.
Drafting a kicker kind of signals that's probably not, which is kind of weird because Greg Joseph went to Green Bay, and it's not the kicker that I was always thinking. I get confused. There's a punting competition going on, and I was like, I like Ryan Wright. It's okay if he has a bad year. It happens. You can't have consecutive bad years, especially on special teams. But I thought that was crazy because he looked really good the first year he was with the team. But yeah, when you draft a kicker in like at any point instead of signing him as an undrafted free agent, yeah, he's going to be on there. And he's been Will Reichert is his name, I believe.
Yep.
He's been all over Viking social media too. Like they're pumping out these rookies and they're like giving them press.
I mean, technically, John Parker Romo is going to get a shot. He's going to get some kicks. But I am not expecting him to make a legitimate competition for kicker this year.
No, and Romo might be a guy that maybe you keep on your practice squad.
He'll be a priority phone call, I bet.
Yeah, yep. He was in the XFL, right?
He's bounced around. He's been for a couple teams, never kicked in the regular season, though.
Yeah.
So I saw an interesting poll today. I don't know if you guys use the YouTube app. That's like my most used app. I'm watching something all the time. And they have a formula now that's sort of like Instagram where in between your algorithm of videos, they'll have like an actual post from a channel. And it's just a photo.
I like those.
Yeah, I like some of the ones. I don't follow
comments
many of those, but I saw one today that was a poll from, I think, ESPN or like NFL and Fox or something. One of
Was it about LeBron James and Bronny James?
No, thank God.
Talk about that for 45 minutes?
I'm okay not talking about
that. Or that 10-minute ESPN segment about what jelly goes on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Oh, good Lord. Was that really a thing they talked about?
That's a thing.
Let's go ahead and save that one right now. Don't worry about what other people eat. Eat whatever you want. Next. Who cares? Yeah, I saw it today and I thought it was interesting. I like the years. I guess this is the first time in 15 years as a fan of this team that I'm actually going in with the expectation being the floor. Like we're going to be the worst team in the division. And I don't say that because I think this team is like the Christian Ponder 2011 team. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think they have a good roster. I just think the NFC North as a whole is much better. But it said, hey, who do you think is going to be the best offense in the NFC North? And obviously I clicked the Vikings. And the majority poll thinks we're dead last, which I thought was interesting. And I think
it's Sam Darnold, man, and it's fair. Yeah. I mean, we all want to see him succeed. And I think to some extent, we do think he will probably have a bit of a bounce back here. Whether or not he will sustain it through the duration of a season, I don't know. But I get why, if you're not a fan of this team, if you're just looking at it as an outsider and you're going from Kirk Cousins to Sam Darnold, you're going to take a step back offensively.
See your comment, Adam. I'll put that up. Yeah, I agree, man. I don't think that, and maybe I'm wrong for saying this. I think the floor is he is benched somewhere after the bye, and JJ McCarthy, like he's just not what we hoped. And it's like, hey, just give the rookie a chance. The season's a wash. You know, the Vikings are 2-5. Like it's over. Or ceiling being, and I'm going to say something, and you're going to think about it on the surface because of where this team went and the record. That I'm saying this is where I don't think they'll end up this deep in the playoffs. But what if he had a Case Keenum year? What if this is just one of the years where
he could?
He's a backup quarterback. We've established that. We're starting a backup. I'm saying that now, and that's all due respect to Sam Darnold.
A lot of this season is going to come down to how Minnesota starts the season. They have a brutal start to the season. And they've got very few opportunities where you look and you're like, oh, that's a game Minnesota should win. You're not going to say that too often this year.
Well, that's where it comes down to the changeover every year. I totally agree, Adam. On paper, it looks like the schedule is rough most of the year.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm thinking about the turnover every single year. Who had the Texans last year winning a playoff game? I didn't.
No.
And then I'm just thinking about a random team. What if the Jets did what they're supposed to do at offensive line, beefing it up? What if Rodgers stays healthy and he just murders the AFC West or AFC East for one season? Like all these things could happen, and those are just 2 out of 32 teams. What if the teams that the Vikings are supposed to beat or are supposed to lose to, what if they're just mediocre because that's just how the NFL deals a card, and then you're looking at what if this Vikings team wins double digits and they go 10-7? I personally would be shocked.
What if
But I
Danny
think-
Dimes has 50 touchdowns next season?
He won't start all 17. You can book that and take it to the bank. 11-6 is optimistic, but I would be shocked. But at the same equal amount, 50-50, same time, it wouldn't surprise me because
I've said this
the
in our
NFL's
chat.
weird like that.
I've said
know?
this in our chat. There is, I think, a little bit of truth to it. The Vikings are somehow always at their best when there is zero expectations for this franchise to do anything. And this is a season where it's like there are no expectations for you guys. Just go out there and do whatever. And I don't really think so, but I mean, when I was joking with you guys where I was like, I'll see you in the NFC Championship, like, that's what this stupid team loves to do.
Well, and here's my other thing to piggyback on that, and like what I was saying about the NFC North. Right now, if you feel the pulse of the media and the hype going around, which we should never buy into, because what does the media know? When people put their pads and cleats on, shit hits the fan and everything could go awry. And we all know that's without adding injuries or whatever weird stuff that happens during the season. But on paper, everyone's penciling in Detroit to go to the NFC Championship again, or at least the divisional round, the Packers again. And now because Caleb Williams is there, and I'll give Chicago credit for adding all of these weapons, they're just penciling in 3 NFC North teams in the playoffs. And I'm sitting here pushing back like the odds and the math and the history of the NFL says, you say 3, I think it's closer to 1 than it is to 3.
See, you say this, but I don't see you going to Vegas and putting money down on a Panthers-Patriots Super Bowl.
Well, that's because I'm poor, Adam. That's because I don't bet, and I think that's a stupid thing to do. But yes, I don't think this division is going to be as, like, how do I say it? I do think the division is better. It's one of the better ones in the league. But this thing that, like, we're automatically giving, like, Chicago a playoff berth, like, they're going to win 10 games. Bullshit, they're going to win 10 games. It's a rookie quarterback. And I know this is stupid to hang it up on, but I watched Rich Eisen last week. They had the defensive tackle for I can't remember his name, but he's an awesome player. And he's already said, hey, look, I am circling that week 1 game. Everybody's going to write the Titans off. He's like, and I can't wait to run over his offensive lineman. And when I sack him, I'm going to say painted fingernails. When you have such a high-profile rookie come in, especially at quarterback, like, yeah, the expectations elevated for your team because everybody's excited because they saw how good you were. But I really, like, I'm pushing back on that whole, well, the NFC North's going to have 3 teams. I would put my money down if I had any allowance money to bet to say I'd bet 1 versus 3. 2 is too average of an answer. Hey,
I know we talked about it last show, but why is the media continuing to even push it harder now? Is there a quarterback competition in Minnesota? Not really.
I mean, when you're telling me ESPN is debating segments about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, this is telling me they don't have a whole hell of a lot to talk about right now. So, I mean, sure, we all know that Sam Darnold is the starter. I mean, our coaching staff has been upfront about how this isn't really a competition. Sam Darnold is starting, and JJ McCarthy is going to sit and learn. That's the plan. There's no competition. They've told us this.
Exactly.
They just need content.
And to your point, Kyle,
what's the name of the show that Skip Bayless is on right now?
I haven't watched it, so I couldn't tell you.
I saw a clip of him and his show. They were going around talking about how many cups of coffee do you drink in the morning.
Well,
like,
Skip probably
get
drinks
it,
about
but
12 just
time.
to stay alive because he's 87 years old.
And they, for some reason, don't want to keep talking about the WNBA, which is kind of hot right now. And I mean, just talk about it. Strawberry's overrated as heck. Come on, guys.
I will vehemently disagree with you.
I like apple butter.
Apple butter is delicious.
You go with apple butter.
Marmalade's the best.
Strawberry is like old reliable. Strawberry is like the Brett Favre of peanut butter and jelly. You know what you're going to get.
Strawberry will send you a dick pic in an email?
Sure.
That's crazy. Raspberry.
He'll
I've had raspberry.
scam you out of
once.
your Social Security or whatever it was he did.
I got over raspberry as a kid, so I don't want anything raspberry. I'm just
Yeah.
like, no, thank you.
And honey. And for me, I'm a strawberry jelly person. I don't care what peanut butter you use. That's fine. We're all different. But I like the cinnamon raisin swirl bread. I have been using that for like 5 or 6 years for my PB and J's, and it's so much better. But I keep forgetting to add honey. That's a good one. Yes. But back to
But yeah,
what you were
that's the way
saying.
the media has been going. I mean, right now there's not very much to talk about, and whether it's Caitlin Clark playing mermaids or what. I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah. It's tough, man. Like, this is that lull because the NBA's done. Hockey just finished. Baseball, I mean, unless you're going to the games, I don't
But
know how
there's some
anyone
crazy stuff
watches.
going on in that NBA free agency window. That Jason Tatum contract is wow. Was it
Yeah.
51 million a year?
Something like that. What? I just saw the other day Chris Paul got a max contract. I'm like, dude, you've been in the league forever, and
Right.
you're just like a number 2 guy at this point. Like, good for you. But if I could go back in time and hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an NBA player for 10 years because I know I'm going to make $100 million at a minimum if I'm in the league
Nah,
that
dude.
long.
Like I was talking about the other day, you want to be one of those baseball players who can get a 15-year contract where you get $1 million a year every year for the rest of your life.
I forgot who it was the other day, but they just said happy whatever. Adam Schefter tweeted it out too because he makes more
Bobby
after
Vanilla.
Bobby Vanilla Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like 2 days ago, and the comparison was he gets this for the last like 9 or 14 years. It's a 25-year thing, and he's about halfway through it. He's been
It's
getting this every day on the same day every year, like a million.
1.15 million every
Yes.
year. Yeah.
And he makes more every year by sitting on his couch and doing nothing than what Brock Purdy does. And he just went to the
There are
Super Bowl.
there are like other players that have contracts like that are still getting paid too. I think King Griffey Jr. is still getting paid by the Cincinnati Reds or something like that.
That's hilarious.
Weird.
Would you be okay? And I don't know that the way NFL contracts are structured, you probably can't. Would you be okay if the Vikings were ever like Justin Jefferson? We're going to pay you an insane amount of money, but it's going to be over a 15-year span.
I would only be cool with that with a quarterback. I would never see a wide receiver, not even in today's game, playing that long. But it depends.
But do you think
if it was like $1 million bucks, who cares? That's chump change for them.
Yeah. Do you think you'll ever see a contract like that in the NFL?
I'll bet yes with my fake monopoly money because some team is stupid enough to do something like that in the future.
I could see the Saints doing it.
They got a track record.
I mean, with the way the Saints were handling Drew Brees' contract, they kept having him. He had money like, what is it, 6 years after his contract expired, he was still getting paid.
That's one way to do it. Probably wouldn't advise doing it that way, but that's one way to get it done.
I wonder how far can you push? What do they call it? Dead cap space.
I don't know. Talking about Minnesota sports for a second, though, if you guys watched the NBA draft, Minnesota traded for the guy that was picked at number 9, and they gave a conditional 2031 draft pick for it. It's like that. Is that a real pick? That doesn't exist, does it?
Well, I forget who it was. They were one of the NBA teams. They don't have a pick for like another 6 years. And I'm like, if you're not Boston or Denver or Dallas, how'd that work out for you? That's ridiculous.
Is Sean McVay in charge of that staff? Like, what happened to all of their picks, dude?
Les Snead is out there doing NBA deals. God,
what team was it?
It's so funny.
What do you do? Like, what happened? Like, what do you do with them? What happened? Like,
you just have to make free agency moves there, and then it really ties you together. Like, so these teams go out and get like a Kevin Durant, and they give up 5 years worth of picks, and they pay him the most amount of money.
And you better
because they don't have.
Win. You better win something for doing that shit.
Right,
I would be pissed. I would be pissed if I was a fan. You know.
Well, see Philadelphia doing it. Philadelphia just signed Paul George, and I think it's a great signing for them because they've kind of been at the playoff hump where they're good enough to get in. You know they're good enough to get in, but they always kind of fizzle out. They haven't even made the finals, and you're like, well, you got maybe what's the piece that's missing? So seeing him go there it makes sense. I forget where Chris Paul signed, but it's good to have these pieces. But man, that talent is just so top heavy and diluted in the NBA.
We've talked
And
about this on the show and, building the roster for the Vikings. I think it's harder when you're at the point where you're like, we have a really good roster. We're missing one or two pieces. I think it's harder to find those one or two missing pieces than what it is to be like, well, burn it all down and start over from scratch.
yeah, well, that too, and to your point, just even if you nail the play, like the player's a 5-star recruit, like a blue chip as they call him, like
Yeah.
starter on any team. Shitty coaching ruins everything, and great coaching will bring out players and elevate them. Like, hate Zimmer all you want, I have to bring him up. The defense was pretty good, minus like 1 year he was here.
Yeah.
Dude, we had Anthony Harris starting at safety. He was an undrafted free agent.
Mike Zimmer had Xavier Rhodes looking like a shutdown corner that was going to be in the NFL for a decade.
For
Yeah.
4 years, he was awesome. And, good coaching can ruin or it can elevate things. Bad coaching can ruin it. It's tough, man. I agree with you, though. And I think you just have some of those times where it just kind of works out. And when I say it just works out, I'm talking about like something happened weird in the draft where either you fell or you got to move up or stay or wherever, and players in front of where you were at got picked, and then you just get a guy that you wanted. Or like for us, you get to go get Dallas Turner. I'll never forget that stat as long as I'm alive. Even if he turns out to be horrible, it's like, well, there was only a 3% chance that he was going to be at the pick. The Vikings got him.
See, you're talking about remembering a stat, and I'm remembering the head coach. Really?
No, yeah, Kevin Oak. That's not his best meme that he's going to have. Oh, here we go. This regime has me the most excited in years. Jake says.
Yeah, that's fair.
I like this
agree
regime.
with that.
And you know what I like? This is the third draft from this team, and this regime, as you're talking about. But when we first started it, like that first year, they traded with Detroit, whatever. Man, the fans were like, "F this dude, he sucks. Fire him now." And then the next year, it's like, "All right, he got a little better." And then this year, it went a little better too. And then they get the good free agents and kind of move money around, get rid of aging players, blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, that people don't just nail it out of the park every single year, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest thing as a sports fan that I laugh at, and I have the wherewithal sometimes, not all the time, to say it is, Kyle, Adam, myself, are you perfect at your job every single day?
I do pretty good.
Yeah, there you go.
No,
Perfect answer.
I fuck up all day. I don't even know how I'm still employed.
Are we all amazing at our job all the time and never make mistakes? No. So just because they're in a business where they get paid more money, it's like, well, they need to be this. Like, yeah, of course you want that. It's like the old Patrick Mahomes take is like, well, I want Patrick Mahomes 2.0. Yeah, so does every other fan base.
Oh, I absolutely hated that take from Score North, and I'm calling them fucking. They ain't never gonna listen to this shit anyway. But I hated that take where they were talking about replacing Kirk Cousins. Well, all you got to do is draft the next Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, because that is just the easiest thing in the world to draft the next Patrick.
And just
Mahomes.
have Travis Kelce, and just have who's their defensive coordinator, and just have Andy Reid, and just have the D tackles. Yeah, just have all of that.
Just to have all of that talent out there. To talk about this coaching staff real quick before we move on and I forget, I feel like there is like genuine excitement from this fan base about Kevin O'Connell and the way he coaches this team. And like there's always, when you bring in a new staff, that honeymoon phase where you're like, oh, I'm excited. It's something new. I like this. I like the direction we're headed. But I remember souring really, really quick on like Brad Childress, like we all did as a fan base. Like that honeymoon period got over pretty darn quick, and like we're past that point with Kevin O'Connell, and it feels like the excitement it's a tangible, real excitement. Like, hey, like we're building in the right direction with him as leadership, and like you said, with the GM. No, the first draft was not good, and no, he hasn't made every decision correctly, but I do feel like there has been a positive progression, and that I believe in him. Like I'm not over his era yet.
See, I'm with you though on this, Kyle, because I am not really excited about the upcoming season. My expectations are not high, but I
Yeah,
am really excited to see the direction the franchise is going. And
I agree
that's
with you.
not like just this year coming up. Being a Vikings fan is odd this year because, yeah, we might be bad this year. It might be really
Sure.
tough to watch Minnesota. But we know that this is all going towards a direction where things could be really good. So let's get excited about that.
I know.
I don't
I
think this
agree.
is one of those years where this team is going to be like only scoring 7 points every week, and it's just let's see this. Who by week 7 we're like, well, let's see what stats Jefferson can acquire this year and maybe win an award. I think it's going to be more like close games that we heartbreakingly lose, and that's
Mhm.
okay because you'll see the fight there because we saw that a little bit last year, right? Except now we have more of a solid contingency plan at quarterback. That team, when Kirk Cousins' Achilles snapped in Green Bay, the season was over. And a lot of teams, and I say a lot, I think more than a handful of teams around the NFL would have been like, pack it up, boys. We can just mail it in because that ain't going to work.
Yeah.
But this team was competitive up until right around Christmas. And you're like, they're still technically in the playoff hunt. How is this possible? We started 4 different dudes in the last 2 months. But I don't know. I'm for the first time in 15 years, I'm like, I don't expect this team to win more than 7 or 8 games, and that's okay.
Uh,
I got tired real quick of the let's run it back. That was fun
Oh,
for a little
Yeah,
while,
yeah.
but
Now that I'm
that
over.
enough.
that burned me out. I agree with you, Adam. Towards the end of the Rick Spielman era, where it was like, you got to run it back every single year, and here's our veteran players, and you got to give them another legacy contract. It's like, dude, move on. It was so refreshing, and I had no ill will towards any of the players I'm going to mention, but man, it was so refreshing when it was like in one off season, Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks, all those guys are just like, sorry, we got to go another direction, and it's uh, you were a good part of this franchise for a while, but you just got to move on.
Well, what I don't understand with that idea too, because I'm in agreement with both of you, is if you're the Patriots and you're going to the Super Bowl every other year or every year, yeah, run it back because whatever you're doing is working. This was a fringe playoff team with Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman. It's like, that's what you're running back? Well, how about you just get better? And they're like, nah, we'll bring the crew back. We'll figure it out. It's like, you haven't figured it out for the last 3 years. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, what exactly are we running back? A wild
We're
And
only a
card?
couple
now-
pieces away from a serious run.
And now, yeah, exactly. And now we look back, we get a little more nuggets because stuff gets leaked after everyone's out. So nobody has the potential to get fired. They're already fired. But now you look back and say, okay, the players were all right. Some were good. A couple, and I mean like a couple were great. But now you understand, like to my coaching point earlier, it's like, oh, the coach and the quarterback don't even talk to each other. No fucking wonder this team was in shambles and 500 for the last 2 years that he was here.
It's amazing. It's amazing that they won what they did towards the end. That they
Right?
It
that
really
they
is.
that they
So
functioned.
toxic,
That's
man.
Were
a
they playing
testament.
in spite of each other at that point?
Oh, absolutely. I would 100% put money on that. You got to think Kirk wants to go out because we knew the narrative was Mike Zimmer didn't want Kirk Cousins, but Rick
No.
Spielman did, so they got him. And it's like, hey, here's the guy. He's never hurt. He's reliable, no drama. He's in the mid to upper range of quarterbacks, blah, blah, blah. And Zimmer's like, I just want to run the ball and play defense. Like, yeah, but you can have a good quarterback too. He's like, yeah, but we got to pay him. Well, yeah, of course you got to pay him.
I
Like,
still don't understand what Mike Zimmer wanted at quarterback. Was it just the money? Was it just the financials that
he wanted to
did
be
not
the
like?
49ers, but they didn't draft that way to be able to play that way. That's what he wanted. Hey, I want a cheap young quarterback, and I just want to run the ball and play defense.
Okay, but
Okay.
here's the thing. Do you think Mike Zimmer ever actually went to Rick Spielman with a list of, here are 5 players, 2 free agents, 3 college quarterbacks that you could draft that fit my system that I want to run? Here is what I have scouted. I don't believe he ever actually did that, and I can't back that up.
See, I
but
think he did that, but I don't think the conversation went that way.
I think it's like draft day. I think he went in there because he's a dick, and he was like, I want this. And Rick Spielman was like, I don't give a shit what you want. I'll draft who I think is good.
I'm pretty
think
sure
that's
that's
how
the
it
way it
went.
went.
It's crazy.
Because he's such a prickly, he's a Bill Parcells dude. Like, of course he's gonna be old and pissed off for no reason. Oh, it's wild. What a shock that had to have been for Adam Thielen and Eric Kendricks and Jefferson and all those players and Cousins to be like, when Kevin O'Connell gets in, he's like, "Hey man, how you doing?" It's like, "What? We're gonna talk in passing?" Yeah, I was gonna hit you up and see what you like with the playbook. It's like culture shock, man. That had to be night and day
Right?
different.
Well, there
Oh,
hasn't
this
been a
one.
ton of Minnesota Vikings news lately, but we should probably talk about Minnesota being expected to sign Cam Akers if he can pass a physical because right now the Vikings running back situation is not ideal.
It's top heavy.
Actually, didn't hear this. I didn't know this was a story.
Go to the Viking Age, and I'll shamelessly plug it for Adam right now. He wrote an article on this the other day, and I love this idea, Adam, because I think you agree with me based on what you just said. The running back room is top heavy, and I can't wait to see Aaron Jones in purple, but he does have a little bit of an injury bug history associated.
And I do like Ty Chandler, don't get me wrong. I like him. But I don't think he'd be ready to step in if something happened with Aaron Jones.
Right.
And I do think Aaron Jones is better when he's got that person with him as a 1-2 punch to be able to give him a little bit of rest here and there. Because Aaron Jones does so much in the run game and pass game. He is an offensive weapon that I don't think gets enough credit for what he has done since arriving in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
For a while there, he was Aaron Rodgers' top pass catcher.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's cool, too. Like, I think we all agree, and everyone in the chat, elevating from Alexander Mattison to Aaron Jones is a significant leap, but it still leaves the gap there pretty large. If you have Aaron Jones as RB1, if you had Cam Akers come back as RB2, and then you have Ty Chandler as RB3, I like the sound of that a lot. I think that's a diverse group.
Kenye on special teams and CJ Ham as your fullback.
And Dwayne McBride there on the practice squad.
Yeah, Danny McBride.
Thanks for ruining Halloween, you dick. Oh, sorry.
I'll debate you on that trilogy sometime. There are parts of it I really like.
Yeah, everything in the first one, and then it progressively got shittier.
Yeah.
I love
my
the
favorite
3-year sequel. That was a great one, and then it just went off the rails. And then, good God, Halloween Ends pissed me off so much.
Halloween is my favorite horror movie franchise, but even as a super fan, I get irritated when they can't decide whether or not Michael Myers is supernatural or a guy in a mask, because there's a clear difference between the two. And when the town fucking kills him in the second movie,
tonight.
When they kill him, and then he's just like, nah, I'm just going to stand up and start pulling shit out of me. And, okay, we're supernatural again. Like, we weren't before, and now we are, and then we're kind of going to backtrack.
But hey, now we're not even talking about that right now, but I'll go with you. I'm okay even with that movie because it had violence. When you take the finale of a classic cornerstone of horror and half of the fucking movie is about another person and Michael Myers looks like a stray dog living in a sewer, what the fuck are you doing? They ruined that fucking franchise.
Here's the conclusion of our trilogy. It's about some other guy that you're not going to like. And his shitty relationship that he manipulates some other girl into, and you're going to feel bad for her. We're going to ask you to follow this for a while. Yeah, that was shit.
Well, you see that a lot of time in a lot of movies, too. I mean, even Scream tried handing off their franchise to another young actress, and it was like, I don't know if this worked.
Now, see, we can go both ways on this because obviously I'm the Scream nerd in this group. I love the idea of it, but the execution I did not enjoy. And the thing that I've told Adam, a shout out to Adam again, go to his YouTube page at Viking Zombie. I'll throw it up here. But we do some horror reviews sometimes for horror movies. For the thing I hated about Scream was I don't believe outside of Billy and Stu, Billy's mom, pretty much 1 and 2, and then 3, the killers there, I can believe oh no, I can see either the meaning and the purpose and the reason behind why they did it, or just look at Skeet Ulrich. He looks like this killer in there. The guy who played Roman in 3, I believe he's a killer. If you're going to tell me a 110-pound woman is going around killing Dewey, and
Yeah,
Bullshit, dude. I could kick a hole through this
an
girl's
ask.
chest. Yeah, and I was like, no, this is not. And then the last one, don't even get me started on the sixth one. I can't believe any of these baby face 19-year-olds are like serial murderers. I'm like,
That's
this is
because
the
we're
person.
old.
It's
But a
true.
lot of these
Yeah.
reboots and retreads are really interesting. I was one of the few that liked the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I thought it was fine.
Which one? But I enjoyed the one that you're talking about.
Is it the one on Netflix that came out like 2 years ago?
It's the one where we reviewed.
Yeah, I like parts of it.
It was a modernization. It brings this movie into a new way. And I think that's kind of what the Vikings are trying to do, too. Like, take this older roster and get the younger version in here.
What, circle that shit back in. Rein it in. I love it.
Let's do some of these
comments.
We are the only podcast that can be like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a lot like the Minnesota Vikings.
Right?
So funny. That was such a good callback. All right, Jake asks, so with the new kickoff rules, will Keeney become this generation's Marcus Sherrills? I don't think so, because after a year or two, they're going to have ways to figure out this, but this is going to revitalize some viewership for the NFL this year, because there's a fat chance that return touchdowns happen a lot more frequently than they have in recent years. I don't know if Keeney is going to I don't know if he's that guy. He was that guy based on the old rules for a year, and then it slowly fizzled. But just the overall format of this should make it a lot more exciting.
Kickoffs are at least going to be interesting and a play again. I still think that games on the line, you need a score, and the other team's kicking off to you. You can put
this new kickoff rule is going to have me excited to maybe watch Steelers games more, because I want to see Cordero Patterson get the ball in those situations and do his thing.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, he's a fucking Steeler now.
Oh yeah. As soon as the NFL announced this rule change, they signed Patterson.
Damn it.
Yep.
That's a good move by them.
Yeah.
That sucks for Justin Fields, I thought, because based on the Madden preview, he was going to be doing it.
Yeah, for a while there, they were talking about that, but Patterson's already came out and has been like, I'll do whatever this team asks me to do to get us, where we need to go. And he's always been that guy. And Minnesota loved when he was being that guy, when he'd handle, being a gunner on special teams. It's like, why are you a gunner on special teams? What is going on? But he did it. And you never really heard him complaining either, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's wild to think for that shitty era of Vikings football from 2013 on until he left, that he was one of the bright spots, because he was literally the definition of an offensive weapon. And you see that in the NFL, like running.
I'm still not really sure what position he gets written down at.
You have to put him at wide receiver, but in Atlanta, he was doing running back stuff because he's got the body type. He's also a specialist and a returner, but he can do it all. I wouldn't dare say that he would be a team's number 2 or number 1, but he can definitely catch the ball. He can definitely run the ball.
But it's not like Pittsburgh has a ton of weapons.
That's true too. Outside of George Pickens and like whatever that Freiermuth tight end, he could find himself in the rotation to catch the ball or to run it.
Yeah, it might be a good opportunity for him.
Where are we at? Sharp Football Analysis. I'm trying to find best available wide receivers because of this comment from Jonathan. Powell as wide receiver 3. Big gap between 2 and 3. Small but feisty. I like him.
I actually think Powell was the number 3 last year. He snuck into that role and he took over, and I'm excited to see what he can do. I know the connection between him and Kirk was good, but was Kirk gone? Can Powell still be that guy to contribute as wide receiver 3?
Oh, I have it right here. The Vikings have money. They should go right now. Hunter Renfrow is out there.
Oh yeah, I've been seeing that take all over the internet.
I just got the list because it says here wide receivers signed as free agents 2024. Calvin Ridley, T. Higgins, blah, blah, blah. The best remaining, Michael Thomas, he's past his prime, don't want him. Corey Davis, Julio Jones, no thank you. Russell Gage, Alec Erickson, Lynn Bowden, Randall Cobb, I don't want any of these guys. Hunter Renfrow is yes, go get him. That would be perfect. That would elevate your wide receiver.
Contract, or what was he making? Like $13 million last year?
let's see what he made.
I don't think he's going to come to Minnesota and take $4 million to compete for time at wide receiver 3.
Yeah, probably not.
It's a
Tell you
good
right now, it's got a
idea, but
contract.
in practice, I don't see the fit.
So as a rookie, so 2-year contract extension, 2 years, 32. Average salary is 16.
Yeah, he was getting paid.
2024 cash, $11 million. He's already made $24 million. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
The
he's
contract
getting
extension
paid.
he got is wild.
He's getting paid regardless, which is nice. I don't think he's with still with the Raiders, so he's going to get that regardless. So maybe that would be a selling point. I don't know. I don't think so because he's not going to do the Russell Wilson thing where he's like, I'm on my last leg. I'll take minimum. He's not going to do that, but
No.
that would be a cool name to add to the mix. That would be a hell of a little three-headed monster because all three of the wide receivers in 1, 2, and 3 positions would do different things. That would just add to the complexity of the pass catchers for us. I like that.
What I'm kind of hoping to see is with how strong Minnesota's tight end group is, I would be excited to see more groupings with multiple tight ends, because Minnesota does have these tight ends that are good receivers as well, and they got tight ends that are good blockers, but would have sneaky hands. So, I mean, exciting. Maybe we'll see.
You're right, man. With the way the roster is constructed, maybe that's exactly how it's going to go. I don't know.
Yeah, so a lot of the Vikings fandom has been going kind of wild about J.J. McCarthy working out with Adam Thielen. And honestly, I don't think it's as big of a deal as people are making it.
If you have the internet and you're not living under a rock, you'll understand that players hang out from other teams. Like Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson are obviously friends. They were at Fashion Week in Paris.
And Adam Thielen still lives in the area. He does his golf game here and has his charity stuff here. And yeah, he is still a Minnesota guy, even though he plays not in Minnesota.
Spoilers, when Adam Thielen retires, he'll end up working for K-Fan or going the Ben Lieber route or doing something like that. Like, guys, he's going to be involved with the team and the franchise in some capacity moving forward.
A lighter one. I think he's going to play golf. I think he's hinted at that a couple times.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be like a superstar athlete to do it. I think he's going to try to go the golf route. I'm going to call it now. But you're right. He's going to retire as a Viking.
He's like Adam said, he still lives here.
Well, he lives in Charlotte because he plays with the Panthers, but he kept his property up there. So he's got any time, like, I thought that was hilarious too. Like you're saying, oh my God, they're playing together. Him and his wife go to the Twins games all the time during the offseason. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like he's born and raised up here. Of course he still comes back. But yeah,
it would be like acting surprised if, like, oh my God, did you see Adrian Peterson was in Texas in the offseason? Yeah.
Well, the thing that I thought too, with talking about this video between McCarthy and Thielen, is because it's not like the best quality. It looked like Sam Darnold. I was like, at first glance, because I haven't seen J.J. McCarthy with a hat backwards. And like I said, it's not like 1080p. It's not 4K. I'm like, why does that not look like J.J. McCarthy? Have I not memorized this kid's face enough yet? And, of course, Adam Thielen didn't have to say all that stuff. But he said, oh, yeah, caught some balls. We were practicing. We were in the area. It's like, he's got a great arm. He's got this, blah, blah, blah. It's very nice of him to do that and be on record to say that stuff. But
speaking of that, have you seen Blake Cashman talking about J.J. McCarthy? New Vikings linebacker Blake Cashman. He said he didn't realize how much zip that McCarthy can put on the ball and that he's got a great long ball.
Yeah, I've heard he's got good arm strength.
For what it's worth, I don't trust this guy as much because he does some outlandish takes, but it's what Chris Sims' biggest takeaway was. He's like, the thing that you're not going to hear a lot of people talk about for J.J. McCarthy is the arm strength. He's like, don't let that fool you. He's like, the dude can throw it wherever he wants to throw it. I was like, I like that because I haven't seen that on the Michigan tape, and I'd like to see that on the team.
Right.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. I saw that quote, and I hadn't heard that before, but I was looking up some stuff to talk about before this show, and I thought that was a cool one to talk about because not only is it J.J. McCarthy news, but we haven't talked a lot about Blake Cashman coming to the Vikings as being a new middle linebacker.
Right.
And I feel like his experience there, teamed up with Ivan Pace, that could be a sneaky good middle of the defense right there.
I think this whole defense is going to be sneaky good. We're sitting here talking about how the team might not perform up to expectations this year, and it feels like it's going to be the offensive side of the ball that would be the kind of the Achilles on this team. I really think that Brian Flores is going to have an excellent defense this year again in Minnesota.
I like that he's been able to take this defense and do things with it he wants to do.
Yeah.
Because when he took over Minnesota's defense, he had players that he had no idea what to do with. And he's taking over a scheme that just did not work. And now he's been able to get some of his guys in here and work what he wanted to work on the field and tinker with that a little bit. It could be really fun to see.
I think much like the offense, the glaring need at the offense is quarterback. Maybe you could argue depth at any position group. Same thing for the defense. I'm not in love with any of the defensive tackles we have. I think that's the number one. And then I would say I would love to have an all-pro corner. But I like the cornerback room. It's good. It's not great. But overall, I love these moves that Kwesi did, and the draft was great. Obviously, this year it just keeps getting better. We hinted on that earlier. But that little trio of signings that they had with Van Ginkel, Grenard, and Cashman, I think that's the best thing that happened in the offseason draft or free agent wise.
I remember doing these shows and being like, I am terrified for what Minnesota's going to do at linebacker because they would have nothing. And then Minnesota came out and boom, boom. It's like, okay, I'm not afraid anymore.
Yeah, they if I remember that right, Adam, they addressed that pretty quick in the free
real
agency.
fast.
Because, we kind of all figured and we predicted that Danielle Hunter's going to be gone. Oh my God, what are we going to do? DJ Wanham signed with Carolina.
Turns out we're going to upgrade by getting rid of Danielle Hunter.
Which is wild because I love him.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But I do think it's going to be better to have production on both sides and not just one dominant player that can be doubled.
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge difference because I know Marcus Davenport plays with the Lions now, but he did not offer much to Minnesota. But when Davenport was healthy, he looked okay.
Fuck that dude.
But as a whole, the timing was a flop.
What a fucking sham artist. I don't know the guy as far as he could throw me, but seeing that smug face last year, I just wanted to fucking throw a brick at him. I was so pissed. It was like, you're robbing this team blind right now. I can't blame you, and I'm insanely jealous. I was like, that dude doesn't give a shit about playing for this team.
I'm with Smith on this one. Fuck that guy. I don't care.
He robbed the team out of $13 million last year. I'm so mad at that guy. He played 4 games last year?
There's one other thing that I haven't seen anybody talking about yet that I am really curious about. Who are going to be the team captains this year? Because when I look at this roster, I mean, a lot of the experienced guys are gone. Do you give a guy captain status based on how he's playing, longevity? How do you do it now? Because, I mean, Kirk Cousins would have got one immediately last year. Or if he was returning, he would have gotten a green dot immediately.
Okay, so
I've got it right here.
Okay.
I think we all agree. CJ Ham he's got to be, he's one of them before, correct?
Yep.
Harrison Smith, it's his last year probably playing football. One of the linemen, either Darrisaw or O'Neal. Jefferson probably because he is the star, and I think he's pretty good as a leader now. Who would be the last if there's 5?
You're giving one to Sam Darnold because he's going to be your starting quarterback.
One of those middle linebackers needs one, right?
Possibly, yeah. Wouldn't that be wild if it was Pace because he's just awesome?
I know that's where I'm at right
now.
My
favorite signing of the last 2 years.
Is Minnesota at that point yet with Pace? Is that where we are? If so, that's kind of exciting.
Well, it's very exciting because he's going into year 2, and if he ends up playing a long time for this team, I mean, he's going to play into 2030 for this team. That's crazy. That's why it's so wild he wasn't drafted. He immediately came in because, I'm talking about random players. We said, what random game are we going to bring up? Here's random players we have to bring up because he's probably not going to make the team. And I actually thought he would stay on the team and elevate to linebacker status, playing and rotating in games. Brian Asamoah is probably not going to make the team now. And I thought for sure You go out and an undrafted dude is out here running the middle of the defense. It's crazy. It's crazy. He's so fun to follow on social media too. Like so laid back, so cool, man. You got me jacked up for Ivan Pace now. I might get a Pace jersey now that I have the
I mean, and you
$26
gotta look at like,
website.
is it time to put a green dot on Josh Metellus?
That's a good point too. Might as well. He plays every position.
He's doing everything out there, and he knows what's going on. He's a smart player. He's got that knowledge and ability. I am going to be really invested in when they decide who's going to be the captains and who's going to get the dots and what's going on.
Aaron
It's gonna be
Jones,
so
he's a
exciting.
veteran presence, veteran
That's
leadership.
true.
I could
He
see
could
Aaron
run
Jones
in and
getting the
take one of
nod.
those spots real
Yeah.
quick. That's good. This is a good topic. I didn't think we were going to talk about this. And of course, we're an hour and 6 minutes in when I thought we were going to have shit to talk about today. Oh, that's funny. Who will the captains be? You guys should leave that. We should make a post about that. Like, hey, who do you think? And I don't know how many captains there were last year, but there's a handful.
Well, I was going to talk
That's
about
pretty cool.
this article from The Athletic. I started scrolling, and it was like, pay. No, so okay, we won't talk about that article.
Nope.
Why are so many websites going to that pay format?
Have you guys ever seen an article online where you're like, I really want to read that, and then it's like, hey, you got to pay for it. All
Hey,
right,
go
fine, I'll
grab
do
your
it.
wallet. It's time.
Yeah, like I'll do it. Like never. I'll just be
No.
like, no. Let me Google what they were talking about and find a free version of it.
Right.
That's what I
Exactly.
mean, and we're the reason why that shit's going to go away because you can just listen to a podcast, literally millions of podcasts, and it'll get covered somewhere to some degree.
How many times do I gotta click no on YouTube for no? I don't want your TV package. Stop telling me. No, I don't want your TV
They've
package.
listened to me, Kyle, but they will not stop aggressively pushing
Holy-
YouTube music. And I'm like, first of all, whether you hate me or love me for this, I'm an Apple Music guy because I'm an Apple guy. But if I wasn't, my go-to number two wouldn't be YouTube Music. Why would I pay when I can literally YouTube for free anything on your app? I would be a Spotify guy. That's the stupidest thing. I would go to Amazon Music third before I would pay for YouTube Music. That is insane to me.
Is Tidal still around? Is that a thing?
I don't know
never
what
heard
that
of that.
is.
Isn't that it's a music streaming service?
Oh, funny.
Isn't it Jay-Z's?
We should talk about. We're going to go down the rabbit hole now. I don't know anything the one you're talking about, but I'm a Your Mom's House fan. I love Tom Segura, Christina P, Two Bears with him and Bert.
Yeah.
They have this conspiracy, and it's obviously a bit that they're doing, but they keep saying Garth Brooks is a serial killer.
That's good stuff.
It's so fucking funny.
It's a good bit.
But they were talking. They've done this for years. So, I mean, it's a years-long bit they've been doing, and I thought it was funny because being a country music guy, I don't like Garth. I think he's cheesy. Yes, the songs are catchy, but seeing like watching From Your Mom's House and seeing the actual set, it's like I know you're doing a bit, but he really does look like a fucking psychopath. There's not a genuine bone in that dude's body. I think when he goes to sleep at night, he closes his eyelids and plugs something in the back of his head and just backs into the wall. He's a robot. But I thought it was funny because you mentioned this might be a Jay-Z's app. Well, Garth thought he was better than all of music streaming, so he made his own app, and it like flunked really bad.
Right.
It was called Ghost Tunes, and it's like I'm not paying for this to listen to your music, you moron. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
there's been one or two artists that are like they think they're bigger than whatever streaming platforms. My music isn't going to be on Apple
Like
Music.
Metallica
Okay.
and Napster?
Yeah, like okay, if your music isn't on Apple Music, I'm not going to listen to your stuff then. Like that's
Or-
really the
Or
end
just
of it.
YouTube it for free, and then
Yeah.
you'll get nothing out of it. That's the thing that
Yeah.
I thought was hilarious. Is well, he's like, well, I'll sell it to Amazon or whatever. It's like, yeah, you should just give it everywhere. Because the thing I hate from an artist, at the end of the day, I want you to create your art. I want you to feel like you're in a space where you can express yourself. I'll never deny that for anyone, even if the music is just conjugated dog shit in a 3.5 minute format, like most of these songs are. You have the right to do that, fine. But don't tell me how I need to consume it. Garth Brooks did that. And he was like, no, I want you to listen to the whole album. It's like, no, I want to listen to Friends in Low Places when I have 13 beers with my friends. Fuck
Right.
off. I don't care about
Yeah.
your discography. I just want to get drunk and sing with my friends. Don't tell me how to listen to music. That's
Could
so
you get
weird.
Chris Gaines music on there?
Oh,
That is the real question. What music
why would
streaming
you want
platform?
Garth Brooks with eyeliner is so funny. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's so funny. And the emo haircut. He might be the originator of that like alternative emo haircut. So
But that's
funny.
all I have for this week. You guys got anything else?
Yeah, on that
No,
note,
no.
on the Chris
We gotta
Gainsworth
go after
note.
that. Oh, that's funny.
Well, I do want to thank everyone who came in the chat. It's great to see you guys here. You can check out my work over on the Viking Age. I want to thank all you guys that made last month a fantastic month for me over on the Viking Age, and we have potential to make the coming months even better, since last month was kind of a quiet news month, and you guys were still able to make it a good month for me. So
yeah, I'm
thank you
glad
again.
Glad to hear you're having some bounce back readership over there, Adam. I know it was down for a bit, so it's nice to see
Between
that's
that and
coming
that
back
AI
around.
thing, I was getting real scared. So last month was nice and made me feel like what I was doing is a little bit more.
Did the change in layout on pages must have helped then?
Well, they changed my pay scale, what I get paid by too. So I mean,
there you go.
Everything kind of worked out in the long run. You can check me out on social media at MNVikingZombie. That's anywhere that you can find me. I am considering starting to talk a little bit more about my weight loss journey over on TikTok. So maybe I'm thinking about that. So maybe I'll do that.
I've shouted you out on Facebook, but I will say I'm proud of you, man. I'm happy for you, not only for your confidence, but your health in general.
Yeah, for our regular people that watch the show rather than listen, I am down 55 pounds since I started losing weight.
Good job, Adam.
Let's go. That's significant, man.
That's a big accomplishment.
You're gonna keep losing because you're not just gonna give this up and be like, "Cool, I did that."
No, it's a lifestyle change.
Yeah,
but I can't wait just for your frame, your body's frame. You're gonna feel relief in areas you didn't even realize. You're like, "Damn, my back doesn't hurt as much anymore. My knees," and it's such a nice feeling. I'm so happy for you, man. So happy for Adam. Congrats. Kyle West is on Blue Sky, and he's still. I don't want to promote your stuff if you don't want it on there, but the other one that I send you stuff on, I'm very excited that you're back.
On what? Instagram. You can put my Instagram up on there. I don't know if we have it in there or not. I didn't even know what's my handle on that.
It's Kyle West Photos or something.
Kyle West Photos, I think.
Yeah. But Kyle West said social media. If you are a Blue Sky fan, he's on Blue Sky vaguely Square.
I post on Blue Sky. I do my every night at midnight. The New York Times resets their games, and I post my results from the New York Times games, like Connections and Wordle and all that. So if you're into those games, I mean, come on Blue Sky or X. I post on there about those. We can talk about the Wordle of the day, the Connections, the what's the new Strands. I like those kind of trivia word games.
That's a subclass in Destiny 2. You piqued my interest there. You said Strand. I'm like, oh, we talking about Destiny? Oh, no. Damn it.
You can also buy Kyle West's photography prints here at kylewest84.picfair.com. PICFAIR.com. Very good stuff. Love all the photography, man. I get more into it because I get to see some of those shots. You just happen to have a good area too that you live in, because they've got some very when I say shootable, you guys know I mean photos and not like the crazy shit going on in the world. You have a shootable town, is what I wanted to say, but I realized before I was like, don't say that. So you have a very photogenic town.
You get canceled for that one if you don't clarify it.
Yeah. Photo shoot, I mean. Very photogenic place that you live at. If you dare, I am on Instagram and TikTok at NC Dog Dude. Don't do a lot on either one of those except send.
Yeah, if you send him TikToks, he will not watch them or comment back to you or anything. He doesn't do that.
I'm sorry, man. I just don't check them at all.
I mean, there could be amazing dog videos, and he will never see them.
I hate TikTok. I've never.
I turned my notifications off because it's a black hole. 3 times I said I'm fine. I have it under control, and like a meth addict. I look down at my phone and I look up again, and 2 hours has passed, and I'm like, what just happened? It's mind rotting, and I have to stay away. But I'm sorry, Adam. I'm terrible.
And Kyle Smith also owes me a horror movie watch,
Yes.
and he is behind on that. And I'm
Make
excited to
him
talk
watch
this.
Halloween Ends.
Yeah, let's review Halloween Ends so I can be
Do
angry.
you remember the title of the movie that we were gonna? I think it's When Evil Lurks, right?
I will look in our chat between you and I because I am kid free and on an
Because I
extended
have
holiday
seen it.
weekend.
I enjoyed the heck out of it. I mean, it is a very, very interesting movie, and it's on
Well,
Hulu if you guys want to watch it.
we can do it this weekend because I'm kid free and I have an extended holiday weekend. So outside of the Thursday night, crazy hoopla with a lot of distraction and sound in the background, we can do that whenever. So yes,
Alrighty.
we'll get it done.
I haven't seen this one, but it looks pretty darn good.
I will tell you, spoiler alert, Adam and I will not be reviewing because it sucked and I hate it. We can if you want to. But I saw In a Violent Nature and I was thoroughly underwhelmed and angry when I was done with it.
I've heard
Don't.
great reviews and I've heard not great reviews. I mean, it's very polarizing.
It's such a Friday the 13th bullshit.
But there's a lot of
ripoff.
those kind of movies coming out right now. Like, I watched Abigail. I don't want to talk about Abigail.
Yeah.
I
Haven't
watched
seen it, don't
Immaculate.
care.
I don't really want to talk about Immaculate.
I saw that and then I don't either. It's not very good. Yeah, Adam, we'll do that this weekend. Promise, and we'll make it happen. I got
All right,
nothing but
thanks
time.
again to the Kyles, and we had a nice show here. Thanks again to everyone in chat. We love having you here. You guys make this show so much fun. And we hopefully will be back next week. If we're not, we will eventually be back. We try to go every week. Fingers crossed. And in the meantime, stay classy in Minnesota.